She told me she loved me in the careful way people say lines they've practiced. Precise pauses. Warmth on cue. "You're my home," she'd whisper into my collarbone, a phrase engineered to fit exactly there. I believed her because belief is cheaper than doubt when you're tired. I believed her because the alternative, cataloging every mismatch between word and weather, felt like a second job I hadn't applied for. But truth keeps its own calendar. It arrives when it wants. I didn't discover a single smoking gun. That's not how these things break. It was a draft of air under a closed door. It was a second phone for work that never once rang during the day. It was the way she flinched when I suggested we invite my sister over, as if ordinary life were an audit she would fail. It was, finally, a receipt, room service for two, charged to a hotel that lived 3 blocks from her office and a world away from us. I didn't confront her that night. Anger is a solvent that strips the finish off everything it touches. I wanted polish. I wanted permanence. So I did what my father taught me to do when a machine stutters. I took it apart and labeled the pieces. Calendar entries. The second phone's backup I was never supposed to see. Photos cropped to look like solo sunsets, uncropped by a clumsy reflection in a window. Texts with an old friend, whose familiarity read like a worn-out lie. Nothing obscene. Everything decisive. A mosaic of almost kindnesses shading into contempt. Once I could see the shape of the truth, I stopped pretending I lived in fog. I took 3 days off work and spent them cleaning, not the house, but the life. I closed the joint card she'd used for emergencies that always looked like shoes. I moved my savings out of the account where her name gave her the right to fix it later. I called our landlord and signed the renewal in my name only. I collected the small valuables that were mine before us and placed them in a safety deposit box so old it smelled like other people's rescues. And then I printed everything. Not because I wanted to humiliate her, spectacle is lazy revenge, but because the truth is heavier when it's on paper. I made a slim binder with tabs, expenses, timeline, messages, redacted. On the cover, in the neat block letters a patient teacher had once insisted I learn, I wrote, "Record." When she came home that Friday, the apartment looked normal in the way a stage looks normal right before the lights rise. Dinner simmered. The playlist was the one she liked when she wanted to feel like our life was a film with good lighting. She kissed me with the same practiced warmth, and I let the kiss land where it always had, which is to say, near me. "I made you something," I said after we ate. I placed the binder between us like a placemat. She smiled, already forming a joke about my love of office supplies, and then she read the title. Her laugh caught. She went still, the way animals do when they realize the shape in the brush is a person. Her eyes flicked down the tabs. Her throat moved. "What is this?" "The truth," I said. "Yours. Ours. The parts that don't rhyme." She opened to the first tab and found the receipts, the overlapping timelines, the notes I'd made in the margins like a careful accountant. She turned a page, then another. She reached the messages, the ones I'd redacted to spare us both the vocabulary of borrowed intimacy, and her hand started to shake. "Who showed you this?" she asked, as if the provenance could change the content. "You did," I said. "Eventually." She fought for indignation, the way a drowning person fights for a foothold on a slick rock. "You went through my—" "Yes. That's a violation." "So is lying about love," I said, as gently as I could manage. "Gentleness is a blade when you hold it steady." She tried a different door. "It's complicated. It was just—" "It was repeated," I said, tapping the timeline. "Repeated isn't complicated. It's policy." The word landed. Policy. Unromantic. Correct. She was good with words. It's why I'd fallen in love with her in the first place. Now the words failed her because they had run out of room to hide. She closed the binder because people close things when they can't answer them. "What do you want from me?" she asked finally, and I could see the old trade routes lighting up in her mind. Apology for forgiveness, tears for a reset, future promises for present amnesty.